there's all kinds of fancy things you can do. Or you could just think about the consumer and how does the consumer view things. And when you start thinking like that and appealing to the person who's going to want to read it, it really opens a lot of doors and helps you.
Hey everyone, I am Ben Weiss, and this is Humans of Flippa. I'm excited to be joined today by Ramos, who's also in the state of Texas, along with me. Good to have someone local, because as we were just saying offline, we do have business around the world. But Mari, how are you going? It's good to meet you.
Good. Thank you for asking. Good. Hanging in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start with this question. We obviously aren't doing this live, but are you excited for 2021?
Oh yeah, I thought 2020 was going to be my year, but yeah, no. I'm excited. New things.
Exactly, and I think honestly, it's funny because 2020 had its issues, but I think for the world of online, it wasn't too bad. So
it was an interesting place to be. Let's just say that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So let's get to know you a little bit. I mean, what's your background? Like, what were you doing before the internet?
Okay. Fire was invented, then I was born. No. Well, I have been writing for a decade, professionally, about that amount of time. I've been an editor, I'm a writer, I'm a freelancer. And I found quickly, once I started writing, that I was really good at writing about stuff that people wanted to read, which is probably what every writer's dream is.
Yeah.
When it comes to articles, blogs, that type. So I love animals. I love cats. I have a website dedicated to cats. I have 2 huge cat tutus in my arm. I have got 2 cats myself. So yeah, I have a site about cats, and that's what I do now. But I've written about cats, I've written about dogs, I've written about horses, obviously, and a lot of different other things. And just, I would say my expertise is finding things that people want to read about on social media that I happen to write about, or assign to other writers to write about based off my ideas.
Got it. It makes sense. And yeah, so to fill in the gaps there for people who are watching this, I don't know how much you want to say about the site that you recently sold and what the new owner wants to know about it, but essentially it was a content site all about horses, right?
Yes.
And so was that just something like, did you know about horses, or did you just think people want to know about horses, or were you doing all sorts of like SEO research and realized there was a gap there? What was going on?
Well, I worked with a company that had several different sites, and one of those sites was a horse site. Aside from cats, horses are one of the most looked up things on the internet, but it's, there's I want to say over 300 breeds of horses, so a lot to learn. It's its own little niche, the way that cats and dogs are usually rescued. A horse is usually a purebred. There's not often crossbreeds the way they are with horses, and it's its own world of crazy horse people. So yeah. I was good at coming up with content ideas that real horse people would want to read. I mean, obviously there's, ooh, look at that. You can't drive past the pasture without going, oh my gosh, it's a horse. Everybody does that. So, but horse people are their own breed, just like cat people are and dog people are. And I just worked for many years helping that website to get content that actual horse people would want to read.
Yeah, that's cool. How long were you actually running that for?
Off and on for 6 years.
Wow, 6 years. And so it sounds like you had multiple people helping with the content, or were you like writing a lot yourself, or how did that work?
Yeah, I would find horse people to write it, because I am not a horse trainer. I'm not a vet tech. I'm not, so find, experts in that niche to write content. But it would be my idea, like, how can I work on get a better sitting chart? How can I do this? How can I do that? Why does my horse do this? Why does my horse do that? Fun facts about Shire horses, fun facts about this. So, and that's really kind of my specialty, is coming up with, I love to find content that is good on all mediums. Like, it'd be interesting for Facebook, Pinterest, all these different places. So it's like you create this own magical space where people are seeing it. But with that brand, I definitely think that the content was really what helped to get it to sell so quick, because it was really good content on that site.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you build it yourself? Like, did you teach yourself kind of how to create a website that was well monetized? Because it was obviously doing really well. I mean, you made a nice 6-figure exit with that business. So.
Oh, well, thanks. I was the editor when it started, and then would kind of be in the shadows and then come back to it. Like I would get people to help run it and whatnot. But I definitely oversaw it for at least 2.5 years before I sold it directly.
Right on. So are you just kind of like doing a lot of tech research, or is that something you went to school for?
Just all right here.
Just good old Google once in a while.
Well, I always tell people that, that want to write, I'm like, well, the best advice I can give you is to know your audience. When you know your audience and you can deliver content that hooks them, they're going to want to keep coming back for more. So like with my cat audience, if you ever Google why does my cat on the internet, I guarantee you, Monty Ramos, some of my articles are going to come up. So I really think of it as that approach. You really just try to create content that people are naturally going to search for. I mean, there's all kinds of fancy things you can do, or you could just think about the consumer and how does the consumer view things. And when you start thinking like that and appealing to the person who's going to want to read it, it really opens a lot of doors and helps you. You have to remove yourself from it. You have to think about, okay, what I want to give them what they would want. I mean, sometimes it's sometimes like, you're like, oh man, like if you write something and you're like, I really worked so hard on that and no one reads it. so I mean, that happens too, trust me. But I think a lot of it is just, and sometimes you can emulate what's working, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll try something like that. And the good thing about social media is you can always delete it. You can delete anything. So it's not like, oh gosh, it's there forever. It's kind of like, it's like you get to always experiment, and that's exciting.
Yeah, that is cool. I like that mindset because, we see all sorts of things on Flippa, all sorts of topics. And there's obviously people who, I don't know if the right term is like hack their way to success, but like there's people who know all the tricks. Like there's so much weird things you can do with SEO and like get all your links and get all the keywords right. But I think the best sites we see are the ones that are exactly how you're talking, is that it's something where you're actually providing fantastic information on something that clearly excites you and obviously excites the customer. So it makes these longer lasting, and they're not just like a flash in the pan. There's something that can last for another 10
of course
years, so long as people are looking up stuff about horses or cats
or viral content too. And then also making like content curation is a big thing that a lot of people like. I have for my cat site, there's times where I'm just scrolling Facebook and I see somebody that has something interesting. Like I have this like tuxedo cat lovers group on Facebook, which is funny. I just got an idea. I was like, I'm gonna make this group for people who just have black and white cats, and it has like 20,000 members now in like 6 months. I'm like, what? I had to get two ladies to help me run it because I just didn't have the time. It was more consuming than my actual job. So I was like, wow, this is crazy.
You're like the weirdest trendsetter I've ever met.
I know. It's so weird. Yeah. And like, everybody just knows me as like, oh, you're that crazy animal lady. I'm like, that's me. But whatever, it pays the bills. But yeah, it just a lot of times, like, I don't want to hack off somebody else. I don't want to, and I will see a story on the internet and I'll like it, but I'll be like, what can I make better about this? Or, topics like life science is one of my favorite, and you can tell that if you look at any content I've written. I love, like, I'm like the nerd girl, so I love all that kind of stuff, and just try to make it fun and engaging, but also learn something. So I think when you teach somebody something, they also want to share that. Like I joke like all the time, like I'm like the perfect dinner party guest because I know so many random facts or so many random things. I'm probably the person people would be like, oh my God, I'm going to keep drinking. This lady's not talking. Stop talking about crazy stuff. But yeah, it's just interesting. But I really always believe that content is king, and quality content. It's what sites need.
Absolutely. I couldn't believe more. I mean, that's what we try with our own blog at Flippa. We obviously know the tricks too, but the key for us is let's put stuff out there that our community is interested in. We've got people who are buying and selling websites. We're not just tech entrepreneurs or something. It's a very specific niche. People are buying and selling.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It is the biggest site, right? The biggest online market
for buying and selling sites. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like by like a millionfold. Like it's
yeah. No, yeah. I mean, a lot of people know who it is and what it is and what y'all do. And
yeah. So let me ask you a bit. I've started beforehand saying, well, try to keep this from being too promotional, but like I feel like your listing, your website sold in like days, if not hours.
I think I was
What
the fastest.
What was your
I think it was the
experience?
fastest one you ever had. It was less than 12 hours.
Because I
And that's
recall
only
having.
because I was sleeping. That's why. Because it went live at 8 p.m. or something, and I go to bed at like 9 because
why not?
what else is there to do? Why not?
These
I like
days.
sleep. So, yeah, exactly.
I'm with you. Yeah, I specifically remember seeing it come across. I think whoever was handling it mentioned it to me, and I of course put our email together every day. And I was like, oh yeah, this one's fantastic. I'm going to feature this. And then I wake up the next day. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I have to rearrange the email now because it's gone already. Like,
Yeah,
well, you just create more work for me.
well, no, and the person that bought it is he's great. I mean, and we still keep in contact. And I'm the kind of person that I just like to help people. And I mean, and I can also learn other things from other people. It's great to have, people that you can look at, like, okay, what teach me, and what can I teach you, and learn. Like, it's nice. And I believe that it sold as quickly as it did because of my authenticity, and because I was very transparent, and also I'm a writer, so I can write a pretty good description, I would like to say.
It does help. Yeah, no, it was kind of incredible. So what's left? What's your day-to-day like now? You've got the cat site. What else are you doing?
Smelling the flowers. No, I just I'm enjoying some time to myself, to be honest. I don't know the last time I got to do that. I've been working so hard for so long, and I have 3 children, and my youngest is autistic and nonverbal, and we've seen a lot of growth in him this year with things and some words and a lot of exciting stuff. And so I'm just really just basking in all that hard work that we've done, not just as a family, but also that I've done professionally. And I'm excited for my new venture. We're moving to another state next year, and I'm just kind of just watching the world go by. So, I mean, now is the time to really, I think, be grateful and for all the things that you have in your life, and even count the small things. Little wins, or people just don't appreciate them enough, and I appreciate little wins.
Absolutely. I think that's a perfect segue into the final question I've been asking everybody on Humans of Flippa, and that's just, what does your perfect day look like?
Get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, wake up, write an article about cats, work out, take my kids to school or homeschool or whatever we have to do, have a really good cup of coffee, and hang out with my cats.
You're kind of like a cat. You just want to sleep and hang out with other cats. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I always joke I'm a human cat. I'm always like, I joke all the time that I'm very social online. I don't, the pandemic, it is so hard, and it affected everybody so much. But for someone like me, I was like, I finally don't have to come up with an excuse to not have people over. Yes.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to make light of anything, and everybody's experiencing so much, and it's been such a reflective year, I'm sure, for a lot of people. And I feel incredibly grateful for all that I have. So I'm very grateful that I'm able to get up and write, and that people want to read my words. I still am like, oh my God, like, they like what I wrote. Like, I mean, my inner, 8-year-old is still, with calluses on her fingers, who was writing in journals all the time. So, I think, honestly, if you just really keep your head down and stick with what you're good at, and you can make anything happen.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic outlook on it. To think that you can really be living like a fulfilling life, running a digital business, opposed to just getting a paycheck, which obviously is a great part as well, but be able to create something that people like. That's a really,
and there is exhaustion. There is, I tell myself that next election year I will not be working in social media. I say that. So, it's hard. And you deal with a lot, but for those little times when random people will email me and be like, I loved your articles, or I'm learning so much, or keep up the good work. It's almost like they know. It's almost like people are like they know when you need to get like a little sugar poured on top. Like when you're just like, man, this is rough. This is hard. It is hard. The digital space is hard, and there's always somebody who's going to come up and either try to rip off your ideas, or, just not be real with what they're doing, And I think if you just stick to the good stuff, you'll get good results.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we'll just leave people with that. Stick with the good stuff, get good results. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.